Welcome to the Deeper Into Movies podcast. My name is Stephen T. Hanley. I'm the founder and lead curator of Deeper Into Movies. Today on the podcast, I am joined by musician, record label founder, and now filmmaker Geoff Barrow. Geoff, you may know as a member of the legendary Bristol group Portishead. He also plays in Beak, and he is a great film composer. He's made music for Ex Machina, Civil War, Alex Garland's TV show Devs, which I highly recommend, Black Mirror, and many more. And his record label is Invader Records, and he's just launched Invader Films, and his first movie is called Game, which I describe as a survival horror movie set in the rave era of the 90s. And just a few notes up front, we talk about ATP Festival, All Tomorrow's Parties, which was an incredible alternative music festival where an artist each year was invited to curate the full lineup of the festival. And also you could program what movies and TV were shown in the chalets where you stay for the weekend. And we also talk about the legendary, notorious comedian Jerry Sadowitz, Scottish comedian, incredible, and he's also an amazing magician. Google him, seek him out, parental advisory in full effect. Anyway, here is me and Geoff Barrow.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, not too bad. Yourself?
Good, thank you.
Good.
How's the screenings going?
Yeah, they are going. Um, last night was really great. In Hackney. There was a really good vibe there, and good Q&A. And it was just a really good room. I always wonder whether I should watch it or not, or whether I've just had enough. And I kind of had enough of seeing it 1,000 times, obviously. But
Yeah,
even still, last night it was a really good room with a good screen and good sound. So I just sat there and watched it.
fun.
um, but yeah, I think we all did actually. I think it was Mark, maybe not, but Jason did. Um, so yeah, because if not, you just sit there and pick holes in it. You know what I mean? When
Yeah,
it's
just everything's there on the screen that you can't adjust
no,
anymore. Yeah,
no. But yeah, no, it's been really good. I mean, it's been really, really positive. Like I don't know. I'm always usually on tour with a band with Beak or something at this time of year, and I kind of obviously I retired from Beak, and then so it's been. I thought, oh right, I'm just going to have this period of time off now, and then I've just replaced it with the film, basically the film tour instead. So I found myself doing the same thing, getting on trains and traveling around this time of year, which is quite funny.
I have a burning question to ask you that's been on my
Burn, burn,
burning question to ask you that I'm a huge ATP fan.
yeah,
I found those festivals basically a religious experience in my 20s.
yeah, we all did,
Jerry Sadowitz performed at your ATP,
yeah.
and I heard all weekend that it just caused outrage, even by Jerry Sadowitz levels of offensiveness. Do you remember what happened, or it's
I
just
think
become mythic legend that this is the most shocking performance ever at ATP?
no, I think that, but people hadn't seen him before. So I mean, I'm a massive fan of Sadowitz.
Same.
So I mean, I, like the idea. so to me, he just did what he did. But
Okay, they
there
just
were
weren't
an
ready
awful,
for it.
yeah. Just I think a lot of people weren't expecting, like, it's like, oh, you got to come see Jerry Sadowitz. He's really good, and then people just like sat there and were freaked out. Yeah, it was
Amazing.
it was the time he was doing like a whole Madeline McCann thing, and he was at his and he had a fake dick, and and yeah, it was like it was classic Jerry Sadowitz, really.
Yeah,
I mean, if you know what he's like, then you know what he's like. Um, it was hilarious that he kind of like someone tried to cancel him last year. I think like it was at Edinburgh or something like that, and it's just
yeah.
like,
They took his show off.
yeah, and it's like, have you never seen Jerry Sadowitz before? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, it's a self hatred act. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
so he hates everyone. There's no, but mainly himself.
Made himself. Yeah.
So it's kind of, you know, it was ridiculous. Yeah.
I really need Jerry Sadowitz documentary or biography of him. I think he's so fascinating, and I know he doesn't. He removes every video on YouTube. He's
He-
meticulous in having
yeah.
everything scoured from the internet.
Yeah. I mean, he really does. I mean, yeah. I mean, he really removes everything. You just can't. I think you can kind of, I don't know if he ever released a DVD
I've
or,
got the VHS from Virgin when they did the
is that
kind
a
of like
TV show?
no, this was when Virgin Comedy were releasing all like Dangerous Brothers and Young One stuff, and they did a kind of every all the alternative British comedians of the
Ah,
time kind of got their almost like the HBO comedy special
yeah.
version of the UK alternative, and this is the only concert that's ever been
You
recorded and released.
should definitely digitize it, but then I mean it goes against the artist's wishes, doesn't it? So I mean you kind of,
Apparently, he's on it every day. I mean, he must have Google Alert for YouTube or something that when anything goes up, it's gone in a day or
yeah,
less.
yeah. I mean, yeah, I know he's got the mad website,
Yeah,
that he just rants about the BBC.
yeah.
Um, but that's it. I did speak to oh God, who is it? Who's on? Who's oh God, I've completely forgot his name now. But even though he's my favourite comedian, he's out at the moment dressed as a werewolf.
Who is
Stuart
that?
Lee.
Oh,
Stuart
of
Lee.
course. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I know Stuart. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I've got to know Stuart just bumping into him at festivals, and then we've done a couple of charity gigs together. um, and but yeah, he said that he had spoke to um he said that I think he had banned Stuart Lee to go from going to his gigs or something like that because he was going to nick his material or something like that. There was something mad
He's
thing
so
going.
fucking paranoid. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
I mean, the last time I saw him in Bristol, he did two shows, two nights, and he was literally selling. He was selling Jerry Sadowitz t-shirts out of a kind of plastic bag, and he was, he said they're only an extra large, which is most probably his
That's
target
probably right for
audience
the
anyway.
audience. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
for the dad bods and stuff out there. That's
yeah.
probably
Most probably, yeah.
target market. He won't have any excess, for the girlies coming to his shows and stuff. It's just
No.
straight up.
So he and still he like at those shows he freaked people out. It's just like what I mean. I get if you're a comedy fan and you're just interested in seeing him, but it was like yeah, there was definitely. I mean, there was a group of women in the front of the audience and he just obviously saw them and just went and it's just like oh God, this is going to be horrible, and it was obviously.
Amazing. What kind of teenager were you? What was the first type of movies and music that really impacted you?
Um, it had to be. I mean, I played in bands, so I played drums in a soft rock band, kind of playing Marillion, and kind of I played drums at school. We covered things like Eye of the Tiger and kind of, that kind of just kind of, you know, we tried to play Ghostbusters by, what's his name? I mean, but then kind of wildly got into hip hop music through breakdancing and graffiti. And then was a kind of like got into DJing through that, scratch DJing, and then but still drumming. Um, and then yeah, that was kind of basically it. Movies, um, I would just say it's kind of the classics. It's like Terminator, um, you know, watching stuff. It was too old for us. You know what I mean? I didn't really know things like The Thing or I've never been really a horror fan. I'm
Hmm.
not like that's kind of strictly horror, but I've never been a horror fan. I saw um, uh, a zombie film. What's the well-known zombie film with Bruce? What's his name in it?
Evil
Uh,
Dead.
Evil Dead. I saw the first Evil Dead on video and it freaked me the hell out. Um, and I didn't want to watch kind of horror again, kind of thing. Um, I had a kind of vivid imagination, and it just was too much for me, really. Um, so, but then sci-fi. I remember going to cinema to watch like The Black Hole, and I kind of grew up in a bit of a village, so it was just that stuff. E.T. I can remember E.T. being massive, and seeing it 3 or 4 times, queuing up for it, and then kind of suppose kind of as I got on into it, I kind of into making music and stuff. I started kind of sampling soundtracks. So you know um Mark, who's actually in game, we go way back to when we were at school, and I can remember him bringing a cassette version of Dirty Harry and then sampling that, and with the breaks on it, and records that Andy Smith had that were the soundtracks that had breaks on them, and doing all that stuff. So yeah, fairly normal, but then kind of fairly rapidly into kind of getting into soundtracks and films, really.
Soundtracks were the first thing I started buying when I was a kid. When I just hear a cool song on the soundtrack, have totally naive and no idea that often the 20-second song you might hear on the radio wouldn't have
Yeah,
been licensed for the soundtrack,
yeah,
and then to be totally disappointed and pissed off that I'd blown all my pocket money on this random score of incidental music or and stuff like that. Or but then looking back, then you just have this weird knowledge that you remember you're like
yeah,
8 years old and you know who you have a reference of the who Stan Getz is or Iron
yeah,
Butterfly on the Manhunter soundtrack and things like that. That would
yeah.
all just be
Yeah, well, that's really, really extreme, isn't it?
yeah.
That's kind of, you know, to know that stuff, instead of popular music,
Well, I did.
or as
Well,
well
that's
as,
the great thing is I didn't know I was weird or having a more
well, you
eccentric
wouldn't.
taste
Yeah,
because you
you
got no
wouldn't.
reference to
Why didn't you? Why
what's the
didn't
main.
you? Why didn't you then like listen to more contemporary bands
I
and suppose and like radio and stuff?
I did. I had a cool older brother who was older than me, so I even then I knew about shoegaze, I knew about
Yeah,
grunge and stuff. But I always tell a funny story that so my brother was really into like Slowdive, Nirvana, and Sonic Youth, and then but he weirdly really liked Harry Connick Jr. So I'd meet all the grunge kids and be like, "Fuck yeah, Jesus and Mary Chain, dude. How
yeah.
about them?" And I'm like, "Do you like Nirvana? Yeah. Do you like the When Harry Met Sally soundtrack by Harry Connick Jr.?" And they're like, and they just thought I was fucking with them, like I was really trolling. And I'm like, "No, I just assumed if you that if you like Loveless, you like When Harry Met Sally.
Oh, there was an obvious link there.
Of course, you can just hear it in the
No,
sound."
no, totally. I mean, like, I suppose then, so you're younger than me then, because just getting, I suppose, like, I was 9 in 1980, so you know, the the ability to actually hear and buy interesting music if you lived in a village was just so small. You just wouldn't know alternative music. Just, I mean, there was these two guys that lived in a village called the Long Brothers, and they were both goths, and they would have obviously been into, well, we'd call them goths, but they were most probably just into the Smiths and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But being nine, I suppose, I, you just 9 or 10 or whatever. It's not until you join like what we call big school, in it, comprehensive school,
Hmm.
then you start seeing tribes of
Yes.
people and what they were into. But still, obviously, no internet, um, limited commercial, limited independent radio that we would have been aware of. You know what I mean? I suppose that there's John Peel, but and I used to listen to John Peel for the one or two rap records he used to play a night.
Hmm.
And the rest of the stuff was just like it might as well just been white noise. You know what I
Right.
mean? um, but yeah, it's funny, I suppose. So when like Nirvana and that stuff was going on, the ability to kind of share, and suppose it was the start of digital sharing as well, wasn't it? And the internet.
Yeah, it was a bit before. The 90s were great when it's kind of. I always think the 90s and the early noughties up until the ATP when we were kind of straddling a bit of digital, but also a lot of grassroots kind of,
Yeah,
strutting
yeah,
up to the venue and trying to buy a ticket on the door and things like that. And
yeah, yeah,
going to all the
absolutely.
independent record stores in between was just kind of a sweet spot, I think.
Yeah, I mean, suppose that like, well, that's the other thing is that living in kind of Portishead, there weren't any independent record shops. You had to go to Bristol. You know what I mean? And going to Bristol on the bus or whatever. And I used to go to a shop then, but that was mainly just for hip hop and stuff, just to hang around. I couldn't afford any of the records anyway. Do you know what I mean? It was like they were always imports of American hip hop stuff, so really expensive. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's funny you talking about ATP because I know Barry. He's a really good mate of mine.
Hmm.
Um, and and the way that it all kind of happened and collapsed is really was really deeply unfortunate. And he would definitely say he made mistakes, but I've always supported him. And people, um like, there's a few of us that will always support him all the way through, because I think he tried to continue ATP when it was losing so much money, and every time he put on an ATP, some security firm or someone like that would basically kind of charge him another 100 grand, like like for the weekend or something. So any kind of profit he was going to make or whatever, and then it obviously got to the point where bands weren't getting paid, and then and
Hmm.
then and then that's the end of it. He knew it was the end of it by then.
Yeah, no, I'm a huge, huge fan. I even tell him that just having created programming in the chalets where they
Yeah,
take over the TVs.
yeah, it's
Fucking
amazing.
genius. It was basically like a film festival in your living room, which wasn't even the main focus
No, I
of
know
of
it.
of the thing. It was I remember we'd
Well,
be there
it's
in
quite
the
classic though, that, because there was, sorry about it, but there's rock and roll weekenders that had always happened.
right.
And rock and roll weekenders always did that same thing.
Really?
They utilized the TV channel to program loads of rock and roll films. So it's kind of like, I think through the 70s and 80s, mainly the 80s, there would be like, or a reggae weekend or whatever, and they would play Harder They Come or something on the TV. So yeah, it was totally genius that they continued that tradition of
I never
of
knew. I thought that was a Barry original. Wow, that's a great fact.
Well, no, I mean, I don't. I'm not taking anything away from them, because
No.
what they did was totally
Yeah.
amazing. In the films that they showed and
Yeah.
the TV shows, God, it was mental. And but yeah, they used to do that because Adrian from Portishead used to play some of the rock and roll weekenders, that would have been down in Minehead and stuff. And he said that the TV would have live performances of Jerry Lee Lewis and all that kind of stuff.
Wow. But it got to the point it was so good, it would be like um, loads on in 10 minutes, and I'm like, yeah, this Seinfeld episode is fucking amazing. It was so
Well,
spoiled.
Deborah was such a massive part of that, as well. You know, both Barry and
Mm.
Deborah was, you know, very much, I think, involved in the film side of ATP. Barry knows his onions, of course, but Deborah was really, I think, very much responsible for a lot of the TV and stuff.
Has Barry ever told you that amazing Marky Smith story where they refused to go on?
No, I've heard a few, but go on.
He Mark used to pull this stunt where I think 10 minutes before showtime, he'd say, "We're not going on unless you give me 5 grand now,
Yeah,
bank
yeah,
transfer."
brilliant.
And Barry would be like, "Fuck off, we're not doing that." And he was like, "We've drank all our beer in that green room. Fill it up in 10 minutes, or we're not going on."
Yeah,
And then Barry's like, "Fucking entire crowd's waiting. This is going to go to shit." So he went outside, got on the walkie-talkie, told one of the reps to take the master key, go to their chalet, which has just been set up, take all the beers and drinks out of a fridge,
yeah,
put them on a golf cart, and drive them to the green room right now.
yeah.
So he sees it all being loaded up, and then Marky Smith's like, "Hello, ATP," and goes on, and he's waiting for the call, and then an hour later, Marky Smith rings him and it's like, "Barry, we've been fucking robbed. What kind of scum have you got at this festival? Our chalet doors wide open." And he's like, "Oh my god, Barry, I'm so sorry. It's so unprofessional. We'll have to look at CCTV and find out what happened." But
Well, the whole thing with ATP as well is that because they didn't really have backstage as such, like it was just you just mingled with all the people that were playing.
it
You
was
know what I mean?
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean it was brilliant. There was no kind of hierarchy of kind of, you know, I can't even remember green rooms. I think there was a bit of space to kind of put your gear and maybe like a bit of a dressing room, but they weren't ever real. You know what I mean? It was like it was so you just, and also you would just, you didn't want to sit in a dressing room when someone else amazing was playing. You know what I mean?
yeah. I've never been at a festival where I've seen so many of the bands, which is a
Yeah.
testament to the curation of the lineups that you'd have every band would just like, the second we're done, we need to run to this stage and watch, the Stooges or
No, I know. I mean,
someone incredible like that.
for us, it was so important for our third album, right? It Portishead's third album. It was so important because we were signed to a major and they didn't have a clue how to promote the record, right? They just, you know, it was Coca-Cola radio in, you know, everywhere. And so, and we were fans of ATP, and we just thought we have to try and get on an ATP. We didn't, you know, it wasn't like we expected to curate it. It's just like, can we play it? Do you know what I mean? Because we thought that the third record was so influenced by everything that ATP would usually put on, whether
Mm-hmm.
it be, you know, electronics to like to Doom to whatever. It was just like it was kind of like a homage to ATP, basically, third, you know, if you look at it really. And, you know, we we were like, it if we play ATP, what it does, that tells the people that need to tell what kind of record it is and
Yeah,
where we've gone. You know what I mean? Because you know, like Dummy was great, but it was assimilated by kind of like, you know, the coffee table kind of um industry. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
And seen as a chilled record, and the second record was kind of like, well, that's a weird soundtrack record. Do you know what I mean? And so the third one, it was kind of like, look, we this is where our heads are at, but we've actually managed to achieve it at long last. This sound. So yeah, it was so important. It was worth more than anything because what it did, it gave us a home. And having a home and people that knew ATP and trusted ATP, they would then look at Portishead and go, Portishead at ATP, that's a bit weird. And then, but they, as soon as they heard third, they would connect with it. Do you know what I mean? And go, right, we get it now. Do you know what I mean? And it massively gave us a home. I mean, it was so important for us, you know.
you've said you feel more connected to movies than music. Is that
Yeah,
right?
well, I'm just as connected to film as I have been with music. It's not
Yeah.
like music has died, um, because I really love film scores and I love writing film scores, and I'll always continue as long as I can writing film scores. But in a sense of being in a band and being out and playing and stuff like that, those days are over for me.
Hmm.
For lots of reasons, age, health, mental, whatever. I've done it for a very long time, and now it's kind of, I just feel, I just don't really particularly, after lockdown, I came out of lockdown and I just wasn't really excited about playing anymore. Um, and then obviously working on the film stuff with Alex and people like Ben Wheatley and, like, I just was like, man, this is the area I want to get into, and we'd always talked about, between me and John Minton and Mark, we always talked about making a film, and John, is a great, filmmaker, real kind of one man industry, and where he would just go shoot, like pick up shots, create, edit, and do stuff for bands. And Mark had always wanted to act, but got into it late because he felt like he shouldn't be allowed to, he was like had imposter syndrome, I believe, you know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
but I knew it, we were best mates, and he did all the graphics for Portishead and many other bands, and was the head of design down at Real World Studios. Um, and then so we just thought, let's do this. We had a good, strong story and a strong feeling about the film. Um, and so we just went on and did it. Do you know what I mean? Invader Records had a good year, had a good couple of years, and I ruined it by taking all the money from Invader Records now and put it into this film. Um, but yeah, so we are where we are, but it's great.
How long was the shoot?
Shoot was about a month in total, 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks in a place called Nature Spectacular, which is a kind of like a camping place, which is beautiful in Bristol. If you ever want to go camping near Bristol, and it's got a huge kind of yurt where they do weddings and stuff. So the crew were able to stay there. We had this huge yurt that was like, had a bit of a kitchen in it and had places for production, and the camera crew could stay in the accommodation there. So we got it really, really cheap off this brilliant guy called Luke, who was the end of season. Nothing was going on there. So, and it had this amazing little kind of like forest amphitheater. So it was like and that's where if we'd chose a really big forest, then just getting stuff to it would have been a pain. But this was like this little hill and this little kind of, like I said, little amphitheater, and it felt like a forest, but it was really, really tiny. It was like most probably half the size of a football pitch, you know what I mean, in reality, but it
Hmm.
had quite established wood in it. So yeah, we were there 2.5 weeks, and then we picked up shots in other woods and flats and cars, and you know what I mean. Did all that stuff afterwards.
What was the initial seed of the idea? Because I really loved the tension you dragged out from someone just being basically stuck in a car.
Well,
But
it comes from an initial idea that Mark and I we were really interested in putting on a theatre performance of Concrete Island, by Ballard, um, and we wanted to do it in the middle of a motorway roundabout, in Bristol. So because they have kind of greenery and shrubs and stuff there. So we really wanted to do, like I said, a theatre production, and that's about a man being upside down in the car, or being, whether he's trapped in a car. I'm not too sure whether it's upside down. I have to remember that. But either way, that kind of, we weren't, eventually that went nowhere. So I kind of just carried on with the idea, and then since, I don't know, 2019, me and Mark were texting, and then it was called Dog Film, because I thought we'll make it a genre film about a pack of government experimented dogs that had escaped, that somewhere in Wales, that were trying to kill this guy in a car. and then it just kind of developed, and I just
Yeah.
thought, I can't afford. There's no way on our budget we could afford a pack of rabid dogs. You know what I mean? So it's that thing of like kind of your budget stuff. You can go, oh, I'm gonna have a spaceship land there, and you just
Yeah.
go, not with 150 grand, You know what I
No,
mean?
restrictions can be good in that way. That
Really good,
makes you think differently or
really
within
good.
your
Yeah,
means. Yeah.
I heard a story once of basically like there's a writer. No, I tell you, and without name dropping, but talking to Alex Garland a lot, and he was talking about this, about low budget, and he was saying there's a film where these guys were on a run and they steal a car, and and basically like the guy on the wheel falls asleep, and a massive truck comes towards him, and he kind of goes off the side of the road, and the car turns upside down and smashes, and they're like, oh god, there's no way we'll be able to afford that. So they come up with the idea that the car just runs out of petrol. Do you know what I
Amazing.
mean?
Yeah.
And you just kind of go, well, that's the way that you've got to think.
Yeah. And Jason was amazing. And
Yeah, absolutely.
I made a joke yesterday to my friend that I said he's basically just playing himself. He's just got that dark menace where you can't almost work.
Yeah, he's not though.
No.
He really really like. I think it's nuances, because I don't think he is at all, because I think he would have been a lot more. Not he's not. I mean, one, he's not playing himself anyway, because Jason is a lovely, lovely man.
Yeah, yeah, no. I kind of meant that from the kind of Sleaford Mods have that amazing delivery
Yeah,
with the menace and the passion that it's kind of it's got that great thing of when you meet someone who you can't get a read on, which is so
no,
great in the film, where he'll say, "I'm not going to hurt you, mate," and it's like you're either going to set my car on fire or you're going to go get an ambulance right now and help me,
yeah,
and I can't tell, which was
no,
perfect.
yeah, exactly. He was. I mean, soon as the concept of the poacher came about, it was only Jason. It was only ever going to be Jason. I knew Jason from the music industry and watching Sleaford's many, many times in Bristol, and he was, yeah, I knew that he wanted to act, and he had acted. So it was like, yeah, he's like, it's Jason. And then I just spoke to him actually even before the script was together, and I said, "Are you up for doing that?" And he went, "Yeah." And fair play to him. Like, I think he trusted us to know that we were going to do something interesting. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And I really love the subtle details of the rave world you've built into this.
Yeah,
It,
well,
it, it feels really accurate and lived in. There's no big fucking shell suits and stuff. It's all more. It's
oh
just
mate,
bang on to how it. Well, vague memories of the era of how it actually people I knew looked and dressed.
yeah. I mean, the thing is that I bought most of the clothes myself on eBay. To be honest, um, I was really, really, uh, really careful that it wasn't over the top. Um, you know, because people's idea of raves, what they think it was and what it actually was, it was just lads and girls in kind of sportswear. You know
And
what I mean?
yeah,
You know, and obviously some of it became a lot more based on there was some ridiculousness of it, but I think that was more in the late 80s than it was like the mid early 90s.
yeah,
The early 90s, it was just like it became, I don't know, it became more commercial. um People that weren't true ravers were just going to it to see what it looked like, and obviously loads of lads were going to it that were football lads that were all on pills. And football lads kind of look like that as well, you know what I
yeah.
mean? um Champion sweats and all that stuff, and yeah, so I'm just made sure that, well, I was there as well. I was recording Dummy at that time, so I knew how I dressed, and I had
Hmm.
white trainers like stonewashed jeans and a sweater. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What is your plans for future movies? Do you have anything in the works or directors you want to work with or anything you can talk
Yeah, I
about?
mean, so basically, this is the second film that I've written with Rob. Um, we've got another film, but it's a lot larger budget. It's not still not massive. It's like 3 or 4 million quid, and we're just kind of still having meetings about it. Really, to be honest, I mean, working out the film game's been a bit kind of, you know, it's been really interesting because it the film game to me compared to the music game is like the granddaddy a little bit. Like it's because you're talking about so much more money.
Yeah.
You're talking in millions instead of tens of thousands. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so it's really strange. Like also working out how Americans do business. You know what I mean? In the film world is really strange. It's like, I mean, it's all those things that we all know. That we all know about. Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. I definitely need a break after this one for a bit, but then also, I mean, then there's a low budget American film that I'm looking that if the first idea doesn't kind of come across, then the next one it's a stoner murder mystery based in Los Angeles, basically.
Take my money. That sounds great. That sounds great.
But yeah, it's very different. I mean, this was a film very much about what we knew about, and I want to move on to something I less know about. Do you know what I mean? But I've got cast already, and people are interested, and I'm gonna, you know, um, hopefully do it with a record label in LA. Got to do a mixture of kind of music and film. So yeah, that's what's next. But then I don't know. I don't ever really kind of like sit down and go, I've got to write something now or come up with an idea. It just it just happens. I just sit there and then something goes, oh, that would make a good film.
This is
It's
funny.
yet to it's yet to see. It's yet to see, really, isn't it? Because it's not even out yet. Our film either.
This is funny that you've given up touring and now you're basically in movie production land. So it's almost
Yeah, the coffee's better, I think. No, no. I mean, it's. I mean, I was making most of the tea on game. You know what I mean? To be honest, and my wife was cooking. In the kitchen for everyone. Um, So yeah, it was a proper hands-on approach, really, and I don't think I'll ever lose that because it's just like as soon as you start having your special chair as a producer, I think, oh dear, that's a bit wrong.
this has been great. We could keep on yapping, but I'll let
Oh
you
well,
go.
we could go on for days. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. But well, thanks for having me.
Oh, appreciate it. I've been a huge fan of your music and your label, so it's been a real fun chat.
Yeah, with the label stuff, I mean, like just a little bit on the label. I mean, we started as a kind of alternative kind of rock label, really. Well, we started as a hip hop label in Australia first, through DJ Catalyst, and then we ended up, I set up with Fat Paul in Bristol, and that kind of grew, and then we just ended up like Drive. Um, Reg was responsible for the Drive score. He just kind of he watched Drive, loved it, phoned up the people that were responsible. It was like Lakeshore in America, and basically said, "Can we do it in Europe?" And they're like, "Yeah, fine." And it was as simple as that, and that just kind of kicked us off, really, because it's such an amazing score, and for some, it brought eyes on to Invader.
I never knew that. That's crazy because that score was so huge. I remember Johnny Jewel saying that like the Chromatic songs were outselling Jay Z, Kanye, Watch the Throne at the time and stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I know that there's a whole history of like Johnny Jewel kind of drive stuff as well, because I think he wrote a whole score for it, didn't he? I think, um and then it ended up.
Yeah, they didn't trust him. They didn't,
Yeah,
which is, I mean, he's built for that. That's like perfect
I
for his
I know,
his
but you
vibe. But
can't. but at the same time, you can't say that it didn't work in the end. Really, do you know what I
No,
mean?
he just stuck all a bunch of his tracks in the film anyway, so it was just worked
Yeah.
out perfectly.
No, exactly. And then we ended up, like we've done then lots and lots of scores after that. And then we ended up doing through Lakeshore as well, doing Stranger Things. So like those are the two kind of super big things that we've ended up doing is Drive and Stranger Things. And we knew Carl and Michael through Survive as well. So it was
Yes.
kind of like it was a really nice relationship. We're still friends with them, like obviously now. Um, but yeah, I mean, we just love film scores really, so it helps.
Yeah, we've started releasing our own cassettes and digital. So we've got two soundtracks out at the moment, and we're gonna go. We're trying to find all the Paul Schrader soundtracks that have been unreleased. That's our next mission for next year.
Well, we were working. So Ben and I were working on the card counter,
Right.
and we were working on the card counter, and we came up with some really good music for it. And but it was in lockdown, and I must admit, Paul was it was hard to communicate.
Yeah.
Um, and we and then we had a personal issue, and we had to pull out basically. There was something that happened that we just couldn't, we couldn't continue really. Um, and also we just didn't really know what he wanted. To be honest, we were like, we were just like, we don't get what you want, and I think the score ended up being in like an electronic score, uh, um, but it was weird because that's the opposite of what he wanted. It was like so. It was like one of like initially that is, you know what I mean. So yeah, it was a strange experience,
Yeah,
but
he's a peculiar guy. He's got a great run of soundtracks, but they're always quite odd choices, which always work in a way. But yeah,
yeah, yeah, no, they
it's the
are.
guy from Black Rebel Motorcycle Club took over the score.
Yeah, but it was really weird because we did a real kind of electronic thing, and then he was like, "No, I don't want this. I want something else." And then we were like, okay, but then this other thing happened, this personal issue that kind of removed us from it. And then it came out and it was electronic. And we were like, what, what happened there? you know? But it
That's
was a good
great.
film. I really enjoyed the film.
Yeah, I love Paul Schrader. He's unstoppable. He's like
Yeah.
eight,
he
eight.
is. That's a really good.
Well, his
uh,
last film, he said, "This is my death movie," and I'm like, "How's it going, Paul?" He's like, "Working on another one."
yeah.
So, yeah, I think he'll just
Well,
keep on.
he was convinced he was going to die of COVID, so he was leaving notes. We worked with a brilliant woman called Dina. Um, you most probably know her from LA. She was the music supervisor, and she's a radio DJ in LA as well. Um, I don't know. Do you know her at all?
No,
Oh, look her up. It's got an amazing radio show. Yeah, it scores and like she's just great. And so we work with her a lot. And I think she's carried on working through. Yeah, with Paul.
crazy.
Yeah.
Leaving notes before you die for your score. That's fucking intense.
Well, no, we was leaving notes for basically for people to He hadn't. They had to stop the shoot, so I think it was leaving notes for people to reshoot.
Right. Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Cool. That's a good note. Let's end on that note. That's really ominous. Let's keep it cool.
No, it was good. Yeah.
Cool.
He's obviously he wasn't even really worried about death. He was more worried about getting the film finished.
Yeah, priorities in check. That's perfect. Cool.
Nice one, man.
Cool, buddy. Have a good day. Great talking.
Awesome. Thanks for your support on game as well.
Oh, I love it. Cool.
Great.
Take care, man. Bye.
All right. Look after yourself, man.
You too.
Take care.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Boom. That was me and Geoff Barrow. Go seek out Game. Go check out all the great soundtracks on Invader Records and watch Devs. It's a fantastic TV series. Okay, that's it from me. Thanks for listening. Thanks to Joshua Eustace, aka Telephone Tel Aviv, for my beautiful music. And we will speak soon.